Welcome back to part two of episode two of Behind the Mask with John Scanzano and Rich Glazer. We got through all of our questions for John, but we do have some fan-submitted question for John Scanzano. Rich, start it off for John.
John Scanzano, here we go. Do you ever find it difficult to deal with John Gallante on the field? He seems like a blowhard in all of his videos. This is coming from a gentleman from South Jersey. So it's a delicate question. Here we go, John.
I'm glad, before he answers, I'm glad to see we're back to the very negative questions from last season's podcast episodes. But, John, go ahead.
I will say this, and I'm not saying it because this is your, podcast and all that. Whether John comes off that way or not, the thing that I don't have any problems because John's a great umpire. When he shows up to do our games, I'm happy because I know that, the game's going to be handled the right way. Coaches are going to be handled. Fans are going to be handled. Players are going to be handled. He knows the game. So, no. Have I ever seen him arrogant or seen him do things? And I've been in a couple games where John could have lost his mind. And he always handles himself professional. And if people think that's being arrogant just because you're professional, then they're missing it on him because, I'm very happy when I see John show up to do one of our games.
Thank you, John. And Rich, who was that who asked that question?
You want the fellow's name?
Yeah, please. Let's get it out there.
Okay. It was signed by a gentleman named Connor from South Jersey. No location other than that.
I see.
But I'm glad. I'm glad that I was very impressed with the way way you would handle that question, John Scanzano.
It's the truth, So
I appreciate.
You're right. I always think of John Gallante as a major league umpire dressed up in a TSE uniform.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, having a relationship with John. I take shots at him during the game the entire time too. So, we laugh about things and go back and forth. But like I said, he handles the game in a professional way. And I don't care how arrogant or cocky or whatever an umpire is. If they handle themselves the right way and I know the game's being controlled, I'm happy.
I think it's a little different. I mean, if you're basing your evaluation on somebody based off YouTube videos, you're probably going to be a little off in your interpretation of their personality, but that's fine. I appreciate the response. We can move on from that question.
John Scanzano, here's another one from you for you. This is coming from a fellow named Don from North Texas. How do you like that?
Okay, I like it.
All right. His question is this: when you have complaints about the Tri-State Elite Umpires Association, does John Gallante actually take them seriously, or does he defend his umpires regardless?
I've had both situations. And again, there's times that I've called John and been upset about an umpire. One thing about John is he is very loyal to his guys. But John always wants to get it right. I would say that's the number one thing about John is he wants to get it right. So, there's times I've called him and I've been kind of wrong and he'll break it down to me and I'll be like, you know what, John, you're right. I was right, whatever, my fault. But then there's been times where I've called John and I've explained it and he said, Coach, you're absolutely right. I can't, say my guy did this or did it right, but you're right. So he defends his guys, but again, the key with John is right prevails. He wants to get to the bottom of it and fix it so it doesn't happen again. And I think that helps his umpires because if they did make a mistake and something happened or they cost a game or something like that, once he gets it fixed, he works with them to let them know, like, hey, let's learn from this and move forward.
Another good answer. And I must say, without being too gratuitous, that in all my life, I've never seen anybody like John Gallante who takes his profession more seriously. So I'm glad that you're impressed with the way he handles some of these delicate issues.
Thank you, guys. Question 3 was submitted from Hector from Vineland, New Jersey. A little less anonymity there. Have you watched the TSEUA ejection tutorial video? If so, has this helped you communicate with umpires as a coach?
I will say I've watched bits and pieces of it. I've not watched the full episode. But yes, there are things, you know, and I believe I was there when you were doing the ejection video, because you guys did it in our place.
It was at the Scanzano Sports Center, a beautiful facility.
Yeah, so, you know, I'll listen in and check out things when they're going on. But yeah, definitely, I learned a few things, and where, you know, on how to handle coaches. I mean, how to handle umpires. And, you know, again, going back to what I said earlier, I'm really not the kind of confrontational guy, so I usually never really have that many problems with umpires. But yeah, there was a couple things on there that I thought of that, you know, I said, okay, maybe I can handle it a little bit different if that should arise again.
Last question from our fans. This came in late after we started. Stephen from Gloucester City wants to know if you've ever been ejected from a game, number 1, and number 2, what are some reasons that you think it is appropriate for a coach to get ejected from a game?
Like I said earlier, I've been ejected one time in my coaching career, and that was because a umpire in a high school game, there was a play. It was a close play at a bag, and this umpire was kind of like you guys were saying, a little bit of an arrogant guy. I found out later he had a reputation. The game was in Pennsylvania. But one of my players' dads, you know, yelled, and which is a typical comment you hear, like, "Hey, Blue, we didn't come here to watch you. We came here to watch the kids. Let them play." Well, the umpire turned, looked to the stands, and yelled at the guy, "Why don't you shut up and mind your business and just watch the game?" Well, at that point, as a coach, I don't care who it is. I'm not going to let an umpire talk to one of my players' fathers like that. So I went right out onto the field. Me and him had words. I told him, you know, don't ever, talk to one of the parents. Don't you ever do something like that. You have a problem, you talk to me, you know, and I ended up getting ejected because of that. But, one of the things that I would say for me as a coach is, I'm going to defend my players. I'm going to defend the families. I'm going to defend the parents. If an umpire makes something personal with them, with a player or someone like that, or a coach, that's when, you know, I see myself getting ejected. But my goal is to never get ejected over a bad call or a pitching out of the zone or any kind of game situation. My thing would be more, I think it's okay to get ejected when you are sticking up for your players or people in your organization or on your team or your fans.
John, I want to let you know that I'm very impressed with you and your staff as coaches. You have a great facility over there in Cherry Hill. And one of the things I like best about your facility is that it's so close to where I live.
Cool. Okay, well, we love having you guys over there, and, you know, had a relationship for a couple of years now. So, hey, hopefully we keep it going.
Yeah, wanted to thank you for being on and for dealing with all the questions. As we discussed, we never share the questions with our guests before the podcast, so those were all putting you on the spot. So I appreciate you dealing with those. And hopefully when it's safe to be back in studio, we can have you on another episode when we're filming live and in person.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Look forward to it. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. Anytime.
Stay safe, man.
You got it. You guys too.
John, thank you very much.